In late 2010, Bungie would release their final Halo game. Their franchise would continue on, but this would be their final chance to leave a lasting impression on the series moving forwards. And boy, did it. This game would be called Halo Reach. Instead of moving the story forwards, the decision was made to go back in time to the events leading up to Halo Combat Evolved. Fans were extremely excited to finally get to experience the events that happened on Reach. After all, it was referenced all throughout the game series, and there were even novels you could read that would let you explore the Covenant's invasion of Reach. Over the last several weeks, I've been doing challenges for each of the Halo games, so it's finally time to answer the question: can you beat Halo Reach without jumping? Usually I would talk about the rules first, but instead this time I want to talk about how Halo Reach differentiated itself from the rest of the franchise. For every single game we have covered so far, we have relied on players' movements, the game's physics engines, and how it can interact with the environment, whether it be through calculated movements or through absurd glitches. In addition to that, we also would rely on certain weapons or equipment in the games. This was a lot of fun for me to find solutions with the limited resources I had, whether it was a certain number of grenades, ammo counter, or the oh so precious one-time use equipment pieces. That being said, Halo Reach goes through and revises most of those. Of course, ammo is consistently a limited resource unless you use the bandana skull, but when it comes to the equipment, its entire place in the sandbox was changed. Equipment was removed, and in its place came armor abilities. These had unlimited uses, so they weren't as precious as a single-use item was. Once you have one, you can use it as much as you want without the fear of it running out, because after a set period of time, it would always recharge. All of these different abilities could contribute to our problem-solving solutions, and it could lead to lots of interesting, unique solutions involving the abilities, but it all depends on the level design that Bungie has made for the game. All of that being said, there's an elephant in the room. An elephant that can fly. The jetpack basically makes this challenge a non-issue. If it was a jump pack that required jumping to activate, like the one in Helldivers, then it would clearly be cheating, but it's a jetpack, you just activate it and you have liftoff. So for the sake of the challenge, I will try to use literally anything else. Plus it's only available at certain times, so there could be times I'm without it. Anyway, we'll see. Not banning it outright. Let's just say that. So the rules: no jumping, no skulls, and difficulty is set to legendary because that has become the standard here. Winter Contingency is an interesting level that takes the players through a plethora of environments. The lands around the farmstead consist of rolling hills that are easy to traverse, and for a large portion of it, you have trucks that you can drive as opposed to walking. After saving the missing troopers, we ride the Falcon to the next area where a firefight commences. This doesn't take long, and when finished, we are able to clear the rest of the level without issue. There's plenty of stairs and ramps to work with in the base, so we complete the mission with no problems. ONI Sword Base has the potential to be an interesting level. Although a lot of the level takes place in the bounds of the base itself, there's a good chunk of it that has you venture outside the walls into the wild. Of course, you're given warthogs, 3 as a matter of fact.
How am I supposed to drive all these things?
So it shouldn't be too difficult. All of the buttons you must push during this part can be accessed by staircases, but I will admit, I self-locked myself a few times trying to descend without the stairs. That is to say, just stick to the stairs, Noble Six, and you'll be Gucci. Turns out, it wasn't as interesting as I thought. Once we get back to the base, the hunter fight is obnoxious, but it doesn't dampen our stride. So using the mini ramps in the interior, we're able to reach the roof and finish the level. If this challenge is sounding boring so far, it's because it is. I guess Reach's level design is just pretty flat. I have a theory that they made it this way so that Noble Team's AI didn't have trouble traversing sections, but I don't really have evidence to back that, just my own logic. But everyone wanted to see this one, so I'm gonna keep going anyways. Nightfall was a level I thought would be easy, and it was, but it was harder than it should have been because June kept blowing our cover. Dare did that in ODST by throwing grenades at sleeping drones, but I didn't bring it up because those were easy to kill. June aggro shielded elites, and that is extraordinarily bothersome, so I'm bringing this up. But most of the level can just be ran through. You don't have to do the firefight section or anything. In fact, it was broken anyways, like literally we just sat there in silence for a while. Not really wanting to fight too many more enemies, I just used speedrun tactics to skip to the end of the level, so we clip through a door with a forklift and run to the end. So once again, no issues not jumping. Tip of the Spear is the level that meets the vehicle quota. That is to say, it was easy. After the first section at least, those turrets and ultra elites were highly annoying. Blowing up the AA turrets is easy, just make sure to not let an NPC kidnap you while you're firing the turrets, and also be careful not to drift off cliffs. Even if it looks sick, you don't want to reset the checkpoint. Once we get inside the Spire's shield, there are actually a lot of options to reach the top. Typically, I would go along the right side and use the jetpack to boost into the gravity lift, but that'd be too easy, so I didn't do that. Another way is to fight to the base of the spire and go up that way. That would be too hard, so we didn't do that either. Instead, I opted to stun a Banshee and take it to the top. Easy enough. 6 tries to ruin the challenge by jumping into the Falcon, but I'm not counting that because it's a cutscene. Because I already know someone is typing that out. Long Night of Solace is very easy. If there were any obstacles that required jumping, I would be shocked, but there's not. The saber part of the level is rough on Legendary, but it only takes a couple tries to get through. Once boarding the Corvette, I actually thought a Ranger tricks me, because once you drop down, you clearly can't go back up to the sabers because that would require jumping. A Ranger fleed up there, and I thought he was going to camp up there for all of his life, which is an issue since you can't shoot through the shield, and you need to finish him off to progress. Fortunately, he did decide to grow some balls and fight me hand-to-hand. That did not end well for him. The fight for the hangar was another tough section. All of the Marines decided to go ahead and take their nap, but once we got reinforcements, the rest of the mission is easy. Taking the bridge is simple enough, and defending the slope space bomb was a breeze. Unsurprisingly, we are able to clear this without issue. I was not surprised in the slightest. We'd seen how easy ships are all throughout the series. The Pillar of Autumn, simple. Truth and Wreck, no problem. Even High Charity that had these environment areas was no issue. So this one, no problem. Exodus is dreadful. So here's the thing. If you don't want to include jetpacks, it's not possible. There's ways to clear the mission without the jetpack, but all of those solutions require jumping. A lot. But I know that most of my viewers wouldn't consider game mechanics as cheating. Also, no, you can't hijack a Banshee to bypass the section. I know somebody would say something about that, but you can't. So I will leave that up to you, the viewer, to decide if this counts or not. Of course, I'm only using the jetpack when absolutely necessary, and let me tell you, I regret that decision. The section with all the brutes, with their fancy concussion rifles, is incredibly dumb. Fighting on the low ground was a nightmare, but I did eventually get past them. After that section, you just have to ride a Falcon and then get the defense system on 9. I was really exhausted by this point, so I just grabbed an active camo and snuck past everything at the end here. So yeah, once again, no problem, not jumping. New Alexandria is it's New Alexandria. You are flying between locations and the destinations are human structures. So there's stairs to get places. No issue sticking to the challenge, although getting hunters on my first location sucks given my default loadout. So other than that headache, we're good. The package could have been tricky, but Bungie stuck to the safe level design. So the outside section is easily cleared with the Scorpion, and then once we get inside, even though the elevators no longer work, we still have ramps to work with. Also, I lied. Apparently the elevators do work. Anyways, the rest of the mission is just defending Halsey's lab, so we're golden. Still no jumps. We're almost to the end here. The Pillar of Autumn is the last real mission, so if we can clear it, we will have finished the challenge. I will give it credit. This was the hardest mission to complete the challenge with, so the first section requires us to reach these mongooses, and although I was tight on ammo, it was still very doable. The drive-in section is also a breeze, and once we reach this next fortified area with a wraith and a lot of troops, it would seem that we can't progress as there's a roadblock that we can't squeeze by. But if we go around the back of this building here, the fence is down and we can just walk across the down fence. The crevice area is pretty easy. It's eroded by high winds, or at least it looks like it is, so all the surfaces are smoothed and easy to walk on. So you'd think it'd get tougher close to the autumn with the industrial setting, but we start on the high ground, so it mostly just consists of descending. Also, there are stairs that allow for high ground to be retaken. The combat in this section can be a bit rough, but nothing stops us from staying grounded. Once we give keys the package, we just have to reach the mass driver. There's no obstacles blocking the path, so the only problem is clearing the zealots. Blah. But nothing is impossible with a precision weapon and a plasma pistol. So we destroy the Covenant cruiser and complete the mission without jumping. Lone Wolf only requires you to die, but I decided to survive anyways, or at least try to. I find it pretty funny that the reason I ended up dying was because I got stuck and could not jump to escape. So ironically, after all this time, not jumping is our downfall. But there you have it. No jumps required to beat Halo Reach. I already knew this was going to be possible. I probably played through Halo Reach the most as a kid, so I had the levels memorized. But I still did the challenge because I knew you guys wanted to see it. Plus, the series wouldn't be complete without it. But yeah. This was basically your regular playthrough, but it did make combat a little tricky in places. I just knew though that the armor abilities would cause 4 gimmick sections. The Exodus jetpack section was basically equivalent to what we saw in Guilty Spark on CE. It required special movement to navigate, but this time it was an armor ability. Anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed. I suppose we'll be doing Halo 4 next, unless you want to see something else in between now and then. But I do think Halo 4 will have more obstacles than Reach, though, so it could be fun. But I hope to see you next time, and for now, that's all. Bye-bye.